Our second story out front, crime and justice. Osama bin Laden's son-in-law pleaded not guilty to charges in a New York court today that he conspired to kill Americans. Suleiman Abu Ghaith appeared in videos sitting next to bin Laden after the 9/11 attacks, and he issued this warning.
We advise them not to fly in planes or live in high towers. The storm of planes will not stop. There are thousands of young Muslims who are desire martyrdom in the path of Allah.
Not everyone, though, is happy to see this suspect in a New York court. Out front tonight, Cliff May, president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, and David Frum, former speechwriter for President George W. Bush. All right, appreciate both of you being with us. And Cliff, you want to see him at Guantanamo. The Justice Department, though, put out this statement last night. It said the president's policy is clear on this issue. The administration is seeking to close Guantanamo, not add to its population. Why can't justice be served in this case outside of Guantanamo?
Well, a number of reasons. One reason is that he has now been read his rights, his right to remain silent, and he is somebody we very much should have been able to interrogate very thoroughly, not harshly but thoroughly. He's been living in Iran. Al-Qaeda has an agreement with Iran. Al-Qaeda has what's called by the administration a facilitation network in Iran. We needed to know from him exactly what are the relationships between Al-Qaeda, our terrorist enemy, and Iran, the leading sponsor of terrorism in the world. We may never find this out from him now. Secondly, it's very important to say this. We are now giving him every right that an American citizen has under the Constitution. Every right. We are treating an unlawful combatant, not just an enemy combatant, but an unlawful combatant with all the rights that you would give to somebody who has been accused of cheating on his taxes. We are going back to the pre-9/11 civilian justice and criminal justice model for what is a war. Al-Qaeda declared war on the United States, and the Congress authorized the use of military force against Al-Qaeda. We should not be treating him like a common criminal.
All right, and I want to get to that in a moment because the numbers in terms of convictions at Guantanamo versus, let's just say, New York courts are pretty stunning. David, first to you, though. You said you would have agreed with Cliff just a few years ago, but not anymore.
Well, we have seen the collapse before the military tribunals of the Khalid Sheikh Mohammed prosecution. The military, I completely accept the rationale for doing the military commission approach, but it has not worked. It has not been able to deliver the kind of results, especially in the high-profile cases. And ironically, the civilian judicial system, with all of its protections, has been able to be more, not expeditious, but more expeditious than the commission system has been.
That's a pretty interesting point. And let me, Cliff, get to the follow-up on that, which I wanted to ask, which is just about the numbers. When you look at Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, he was arrested a decade ago, still awaiting trial. 777 detainees have gone through Gitmo, 6 convictions of 779. In the New York courts, 39 cases, so a lot fewer, but 35 of them have ended with a guilty plea or conviction. Sounds like it'd be better to go in New York.
I think you have a point, and I think David has a point, and the point is that the military commissions, as fashioned by Congress, are pretty much of a mess. Congress fashioned this system of military commissions. Congress should fix it. Mend it, don't end it. And while the military commission system is bad, the civilian legal justice system does have its problems as well. I would ask if the names O.J. Simpson and Casey Anthony mean anything to anybody. We also had one terrorist trial, pretty famous one, in which the suspect, and we call him a suspect now, was dismissed on all but one charge. Luckily, that charge was for a life sentence, but it almost went badly. I do wonder if we're going to have a conviction in this and other cases. It's a conspiracy case, not a murder case, and that's led to bad results. In the past, FALN terrorists were sentenced on a conspiracy case after setting off more than 100 bombs, and then President Clinton released them, commuted their sentence, let them all go. So I think there's problems with both systems of justice, but when you have an enemy combatant, you want a system like we have in Guantanamo, and again, you want to be able to interrogate someone like this. We are not interrogating terrorists anywhere in the world, as far as we know, and that's a big mistake for the future.
David, the other thing is there's people in Guantanamo, 166 of them still remaining, who the government doesn't know what to do with. This president promised to close Guantanamo. He hasn't, because he doesn't know what to do with these people. Maybe he couldn't convict them in a court, but he doesn't want to let them go.
Right. Well, so that look, Guantanamo has its uses. I mean, and detention is part of war. I think we're going to regret, though, we already regret, that back in 2004, 2005, we should have written a comprehensive statute to govern how we were going to deal with the detainees in counter-terrorist operations. The Bush administration instituted a series of ad hoc emergency measures that helped to secure enhance the security of the country in the short run, but didn't answer long-term problems for how you deal with this long-term war. And so now we find ourselves with this alternative of, as Cliff says, do we treat this like an income tax fraud case? But the alternative is Guantanamo, the military commissions, and they really are failing.
And can I add one other thing? And that is that we have released a lot of people from Guantanamo, and dozens of them have gone back to the jihad, gone back to waging war against us in Syria and other places. That's a problem, too. Don't forget, the people we have there are not necessarily meant to go to trial. They're meant to be detained during the hostilities. They're not meant to go to trial because you cannot expect either the CIA or your military personnel to be playing CSI Kandahar. They're not collecting evidence on the battlefield, evidence that can be used in a court of law. Now, I hope the prosecutors know what they're doing. I'm optimistic that they do and that they have good, solid evidence, but there's going to be discovery. There's going to be an insistence on the part of the lawyers for Abu Ghaith that all kinds of evidence and perhaps classified information be turned over. I hope this goes well. I hope it's quick, and I hope he's convicted, and I hope he spends the rest of his life in jail or is executed. But if not, you heard warnings of this on your show, Aaron.
Well, it's an interesting point. David Frum, what do you think about that? I mean, some have said, well, look, this man, Osama bin Laden's son-in-law, he's not a big fish. So I guess the question is, maybe he just doesn't count.
Well, this is like the joke in the movie industry. Times are so tough, we're now even firing the sons-in-law. I think, look, even evil supervillains have idiotic sons-in-law, and perhaps this is one of them. But he does seem to have played an important role. And I think one of the things that backstops all of this is Attorney General Eric Holder said during a board of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed's civilian prosecution, don't worry, he can't, even if he's acquitted, he's going to be detained. The detention power of the executive lurks in the background. So I don't think there's much worry that dangerous characters are going to go free. The worry is that we're not going to have a resolution of these problems in ways that the American political system can live with.
All right. Thanks for the vote.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it.